This is Lysha Holmes, and I'm your host on the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I'm so excited to welcome to our global community today somebody I've had the absolute pleasure to be introduced to through one of our amazing podcast partners, Joe Major. Not just a brilliant educator in diversity and recruitment, but also a connector to people that I think have got on extremely well before we started pressing record. Now, this next guest, this is the first time that she has actually done a podcast, and it's going to be, for a lot of people, I think quite an emotive conversation, but a really powerful one too, because we're going to cover some really incredible topics. And I know we're going to get really meaningful about what it means to actually have a community. And without further ado, who better to ask than the founder of Greenback Group? This is Roisin McCabe. Welcome to you today. How are you?
Hello, I'm good, thanks. It's great to be on. Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. So, for those who are not familiar with you, please tell us a little bit about yourself and your business, and also where you're speaking to us from, because I love it when we're getting people, because I don't think we've had anyone from your neck of the woods before. So, go and introduce your location to us.
Okay, so currently I'm sitting in a place called Hamilton. It's just outside Glasgow, and yeah, this is where I call home. And
Gorgeous.
yeah, this is where I live and work and do all the things that yeah that I need to do in life.
Include running your business and having a young family, which I'm sure keeps you very busy. So, tell us a little bit about Greenback Group. What do you do?
So Greenback Group, we were founded almost a year ago actually, spring last year. Ryan, my husband, Ryan McCabe, held sort of networking events through his company Audro because he loved bringing people together and bouncing ideas off of each other. So it was difficult for him to manage having those events alongside all of his things that he had to do in his role as the CEO. So yeah, we'd sort of come up with this idea. I'd reached a bit of a crossroads in life. I'm a trained primary school teacher. I took a few years off to have the three boys that are really close in age. And yeah, he just said to me, get on board with this. I think this is great. I've met so many people that are desperate to get face to face, be in a room together, share ideas, share innovation, and I really was, yeah. I mean, Ryan could have sold sand to the Arabs. I was all in. So yeah, so Greenback started June last year, the beginning of June. And then it was sort of put in the back burner for a while. And yeah, we started up properly following the summer. I took a bit of a break during the summer and came back in August and started properly structuring the business and heading in the direction we wanted to go in. So at this point, yeah, we've brought a good number of people together. We're all about creating communities. So the idea with Greenback Group is that, execs, C-suites, founders, it's lonely at the top, but it doesn't have to be. You know, communities, everything, getting together with people, forming relationships, you know, always having someone that you can pick up the phone to or send a message to if you ever need help or advice. It's not about selling to people, it's about just working together for the benefit of yourself, but also for others as well. If you can share insights, then do so because you'll find a lot of people are really eager to hear what you've got to say.
And actually, probably feel the same way you do as well. I think that's the key point as well, that it's a safe space.
Yeah.
Thank you for that explanation. And I did not know you were previously a primary school teacher. Well, kudos to you. That's a real, we think recruitment's a hard job, but my God, that's earning your stripes and then some. So I do think that word, I think the word community, I was saying to you off camera, is like it's a term that just gets used and thrown around and chucked around. So let's just define, without boring the audience, what do you think community actually means?
I just think community is bringing people together. And I'm so lucky in life that I've been part of so many communities, whether it's friendship groups, mums that I've met through having kids,
Mm.
um, people that I've met through work, people, our gym's a community where Ryan and I are members at a boxing gym, but it's not just a boxing gym. Like they go on camping trips together, they climb hills together. They're always coming together. And I think that's what community is. Community is just a group of like-minded people
Mm.
coming together, from all walks of life, we don't all have to be the same or even similar, people coming from all different backgrounds,
Yeah.
different age groups, different experiences, and learning from each other, and supporting each other. And yeah, just providing that safe space, as you said, where like you can share things, you can help people and they can help you.
Yeah.
That's
How do then you curate, get my teeth in, how do you curate if we've got our listeners here now who are, a large swarm of whom are your potential community group, it's recruitment leaders and founders right across the globe. But how do you create a community that is going to have set of values? I mean, is that what your starting point is? That it, almost when you create a company, you have your set of values, you have your mission, and then you work from there. So is it a similar thing when you're creating a community?
So I would say that the types of people that I like to get around a table at our events, they've got to the position that they're in because of the type of person they are. They want to better themselves, but they also want to help others. So I feel like that, they already have the values that I'm looking
Okay.
for. It's not
Interesting.
like I'm not going out with a set list of saying, this is what I'm looking for. It's more a case of I see where you've got to in life. Can
Mm,
you come and share that with other people?
mm,
Um, because you must have strong values. You must have strict values that you stick to and that you set for yourself, to to live the way that you do. Being a CEO, being a founder, like it's tough. I've seen both sides of it. You see people flying high and you think, oh, they're so successful and what a life to live, and it's great. And I think Ryan was really, really good at keeping things real, like he just what he put out, his presence online, that was him as a
that's
person. He didn't, yeah, he would shout about how great things were, but at the same time, he would tell you how painfully difficult things were and how very lonely it could be at times.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think in me knowing his values as
Mm,
a CEO, and all the other people that I'm meeting and I'm networking with, I see these things appearing and I'm like, oh, you get that too. Like
uh-huh.
that's yeah.
Isn't it? That's really interesting, actually, because you wouldn't have thought it was necessarily so prescriptive, but
Yeah.
potentially, actually. So, what if you could put an ingredients list of, making the recipe? What would that sort of the key elements be that make a successful CEO, do you think?
So I think having the drive, like
Mm.
the sort of like the innate ability to not take no for an answer, no
Right,
is not the end. It's then, well, how do we change that round,
right,
How
okay.
do we how do we get success, no is not the end of the road. I think having um dedication to it, like really, really giving 100%. I know a lot of people that give 90% and they think it's 100, but actually when you see the people that give 100%, there's a huge difference.
Mm.
Um, I would say having balance as well is really important, having boundaries because you can't burn yourself out and you have to be open to taking help, Nobody ever got to the top of the ladder on their own. Somebody had to hold it at the bottom, whether it was one person holding it or whether it was a team of 10 people, You
Yeah.
need to lean on others
Mm.
and you need to surround yourself with people that do things better than you, that
Mm.
you can learn from because nobody has all the answers. There's not a CEO that I've encountered through Greenback Group that claims to know it all, that claims to have built the most successful
True.
recruitment agency in the world.
I love that whole premise from Sheryl Sandberg. She wrote Lean In. I don't know if you've ever read that. And it's, she writes around that a lot on her social media. And that whole premise of, leaning in to learn as opposed to leaning out. And that's where, this whole notion that a CEO is, this forthright, dogmatic. And actually everything you're saying there is this, I guess, the sort of modern tale version of what makes a really successful business leader, whether it's a CEO or not, actually. I like the determination element. I think having strong self-belief, but balanced with self-awareness, actually, which I think was your previous point
Yeah.
around, knowing to, the bits that you're going to focus on that you're going to do well and being relentless with it, that relentlessness, but then being able to ask for help and delegation. You see that very often. And I think vulnerability and sharing that in a safe space, coming back to the point on community, is, possibly what's been missing. I mean, there are, like most things, there are lots of options and choices out there for people, especially around, things like WhatsApp communities. It's dead easy to set something up, isn't it? And, you can create a group on LinkedIn or on Facebook or Snapchat, wherever your sort of domain is. But so if people are listening now thinking, well, I think I've got a community, but I'm not really sure it's a community. Like you've talked about boundaries being a really key factor of it, but where do you think the best places are? This is before we get to the in life events bit, but where do you think the best ways to create a community are in terms of whether it's an app or the best functions you've seen?
It absolutely has to be face to face for me, Lysha. I feel like the best place to have communities is to be in person. WhatsApp groups, like, don't get me started on them. I'm members of WhatsApp groups for the school, 3 different classes at school, 3 different football teams, not to mention all of the friendship ones and the social things that I'm part of. It's tiring. I actually just like most of the time mute them because I can't keep up with the amount of messages and the time it takes to read through things that don't necessarily apply to you. So I think even if you have a community and it's a small WhatsApp group, there's still things that you're going to be like, I
Yeah,
just don't have the time for that. So I think, yeah, it's great to have these kinds of group chats and things, and it's great to have, like meetings on Zoom with lots of people, but I think the true value comes in when you're face to face with people.
I agree. I wasn't leading Roisin into that answer actually, but I could not agree more. And I go one step above your mute. I raise your mute and I lock chat. If you lock chat, you don't see it, you don't get notifications or anything.
Okay.
Oh my God, most of my groups are in locked chat now. And the only live chats I have are literally my daughters and my partner. That's it. Everyone else is in archive. I'm sorry, this is a revelation that I do happily share to most people. I agree with you 100%. I mean, I run and I co-run a couple of communities on WhatsApp, but that is purely for the purpose of inviting people to in-life events. So, whether it's our podcast, we've just announced, as we record this in February, we've just announced our next in live event in London on the 3rd of July. And that's where we get to meet real members of the community, people that have been listening to every show. I'm imagining that our panel is pulling people there, but I don't think there's anything that replaces, and it does segue very nicely into what I think is the key differentiator of your purpose as a business, which is to get people to meet in person. Have you seen, I mean, I know the business is still quite embryonic, but from the feedback you're getting from your community member groups, why do you think they've become the in thing again, as opposed to the fact that we're doing this now on Zoom? So we're being total hypocrites, but we are hundreds of miles apart. I wish I could be in Hamilton in Glasgow, let me tell you. But why do you think face-to-face events have become sort of the unique thing again about a community?
I don't know if it's because people have gone so long without them. I don't know if it's from like back in the COVID days where this then became the way to speak to each other. And then obviously the huge explosion of working from home, people just got used to being on their own and
Yeah.
speaking over Zoom and speaking over group chats. And now it's like they're really missing it because so much time's passed. I think that the longer things go on for, the more you miss them. So I
Yeah.
think we've just reached a stage now where people, yeah, they miss that, and
And
they really
and
want
do
it
you
back.
think as well with sorry to talk over that with AI and automation, I can only see this conversation going in that direction that more and more we're going to crave human interaction, input. we're all going to want to switch. You see, I mean, there's a restaurant in Manchester that has a no phone policy. You can have holiday resorts now where you can have a no phone policy and no Wi-Fi. Hotels with no Wi-Fi, an off-grid kind of stay, which still terrifies me a little bit. But do you think that could be if you think fast forward 5 years, that we'll actually have these kind of retreats for CEOs where you're just switching off and just focusing on working on them and on the business rather than all the noise?
Yes, I definitely think so. I
Mm.
think, I think, yeah, if you were to take away all of those things, if you were to strip back all of the overpowering, group chats and AI and all the things that don't have human interaction, if you were just to leave yourself with the actual face-to-face meetings, we watched a program years ago. I don't know if you've seen it. It was on Netflix. It was about blue zones.
Yes, it was a brilliant, brilliant program.
Yeah. And the longevity in people's lives,
Yeah.
like they lived so long, and the research said it was down to the fact, I mean, obviously what they eat and drink and, their like levels of fitness, they play a part, but the biggest factor in it was social interactions, being around other people, whether it's, friends, or as you get older, families take in their elderly, they live together, and spending that time in each other's company can add years, years onto your life.
Yeah. So actually going back to your very first point at the start, very start of your introduction, it was around that isolation kind of
Yeah.
perception of, when you're a senior leader listening to this now, and I speak to, that's not just my community, these are my clients. My clients are very often, they think they're alone. They think that, there's nobody that really understands their position, especially those that are maybe, self-funded, they don't have an investor, they don't have an ed, whatever it might be. And actually, bringing it back to this current point, this is where I think a community can be not just invaluable, but literally life-saving from an
Yeah.
emotional and a professional perspective. So I'm going to throw something very contrarian here then. Should we be monetizing membership to these communities?
Well, in terms of Greenback Group, we don't charge people to attend any of our events because I believe that people should be able to invest in themselves. The founders, the CEOs, the people that are being invited by invitation only to our events are investing that time by getting in touch with other people in similar positions to them to learn from them. You can go and read books, listen to podcasts. There's so many ways that you can invest time in bettering yourself, but actually learning from others is so important that I don't think it's fair to then ask people to pay for it. For a start, you might put them off,
Yeah.
and then, I don't know. I feel like it just goes against what I'm trying to build with Greenback Group. Yeah, I'm trying to build communities to help people. So to then put a price tag on that for people to attend, it just doesn't feel right.
So it's about making sure there's a balance there, isn't there? Because I know there are membership groups where it's free to join, but to attend anything, you have to
Yeah.
pay for nothing just to be a part of a community. But I think if you're getting value, if there's training involved, if there's workshops, if there's external resources, that's a very different commodity altogether, isn't it? That's not what we're talking about today. That's really, really insightful. And what plans have you got for 2025 for Greenback Group? Talk us through the trajectory of the next 12 months.
Well, the trajectory of the next 12 months is to keep going, having events down in London. I plan on being down every month, apart from in the summer months, just because I have to balance being a mum to the boys, and taking them on holiday and things. And also a lot of my, targets will be away during the summer
Okay.
anyway. So yeah, the plan is to be down though, networking myself, getting to know people, getting to meet them face to face, because again, practice what you preach. It's
Absolutely.
great connecting with people and speaking over the phone or online or LinkedIn, but ultimately I want to get to know people. So I'll be at the Rec Expo in March. I'm heading over to Boston in May. So yeah, lots of networking for me and lots of hosting our exec events.
How exciting. Well, I can't believe that's another person I'm going to miss at the expo because I'm on holiday. Sorry about that. Now, before we go, it would be very remiss to not talk about the foundation for Ryan. So talk us through the race front. I think when this goes live, I think we've already missed one of the races, but just talk us through why it's been set up and then what we can do as my community will want to get behind this because Ryan was so well loved. And if you want to go and search in your bar for the episode that I recorded with Ryan, I think it was about 2022. But if you just go into the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast and search Ryan McCabe, you'll find that brilliant episode. Just talk us through that, please, Roisin, before you go.
Yes, so I mean, Ryan was all about bringing people together, and that's the legacy that he leaves behind. I feel that, in continuing to bring people together, whether it's through work with Greenback Group or whether it's through things to remember him, that's the only way that I'll keep him alive. That's what it feels like to me. I feel close to him when I'm doing those things. So yeah, it started off, Run for Ryan was an idea because, as I say, our boxing gym that we went to, they wanted to do like an in-person 10K to remember him, to raise some money for charity. Audro wanted to reinstate the active recruiters that they used to do the virtual run for charity. So both came to me and I said, well, yeah, let's do it together. Let's put it all into one big Run for Ryan. So yeah, in-person run near where we live through a muddy forest. So whoever listens to this,
Right.
if you hear it after the run, you'll know if I've broken any legs or not. But yeah, and then the virtual run. So again, sign up, run, walk, crawl from wherever you like in the world. So we're on track to have about 500 people taking part all over the world in it, which is absolutely amazing. Bullhorn have kindly offered to match the sign-up fee for the next 200 people. So hopefully, I mean, it's it's
How
absolutely amazing. It's amazing to know that where we'll be running from, or where we'll have run from once this goes out, there's actually going to be other gatherings all over the world of people getting together and running at the same time,
that's
in Ryan's memory.
Oh, that's amazing. What an amazing legacy. But that's just made me go all goosebumps because can you imagine this is just going to grow and grow and grow?
I know it's so big. So because of that, obviously because it had grown to the size that it did, I thought, we have to support as many charities as we can. Ryan had charities that he was always raising money for and supporting. So yeah, I started up the Ryan McCabe Foundation so that basically all funds raised from anything to do with remembering Ryan, it goes into the foundation and then it's given out in the form of grants to the charities that meant a lot to him.
Wow. That's amazing. Well, we will make sure in the show notes, if you're listening now, there'll be a direct link to Ryan McCabe Foundation, and we want you to get involved. We want your money, but we also want you to get involved. So if you are interested to do something with Roisin, please drop her a message and mention the Recruiters Recruitment Podcast. And I hope to see you at some point in real life, given I'm not going to see you at the Expo. But how was your first podcast? Did you enjoy it?
Yes, it's been all right, relatively painless.
Told you, it's just a chat. That's all it is. See, if anybody else is interested in joining me for season 6 and sitting where Roisin is, well, not literally, although it does look very nice. That chair, I have to say, much more comfortable than mine. Although mine looks nice, it's really not comfortable at all. I am so grateful you joined us. I think you're absolutely wonderful. And thanks again to Joe Major for connecting us. And I really wish you all the best. And if anybody's interested in curating, creating, becoming a part of a community, then this is the person you need to speak to without exception. You sound fantastic. So thank you for all that you're doing. And thank you for joining me on the show.
Thanks, Lysha. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.